and I'm really excited to welcome Tim Welch here to present to us. He is a retired educator, and I will let him take it from here. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, somebody got a hold of me, Leah and some other group people that are part of OSTA got a hold of me. I am a retired IT director from LeGrand, did a 30-year career in LeGrand, Oregon. I was a teacher initially for 10 years, elementary school, and then I had an opportunity way back in 1995 to go to Eastern Oregon University on an NSF grant, National Science Foundation grant, where we were teaching science teachers how some different ideas for teaching science. And that program called Peers was a 5-year, $2 million NSF grant. And what we would do is take our teachers out on these summer institutes and expose them to some activities out in the environment, and then basically it was project-based immersion in find something that interests you, study it, and it was a really cool program, and that led me into doing a lot of technology back then for that NSF grant, and then in 1998 I got the opportunity to become the network administrator for LeGrand when they installed a computer network. I had a lot of background in doing internet stuff starting back in 1995. So then I spent the last 20 years of my career as the IT director in LeGrand. And as that modified, it became, with budget cuts and so forth, I was not only the IT network administrator, I was the instructional technology administrator as well. So what I've always felt has been helpful for me working with teachers is that at heart I'm a teacher. I understand pedagogy. I understand what you guys have to do, how busy you are, and so I'm always sensitive to finding ways with technology that can help teachers do just simplify your job, not make it more complicated. I don't envy any of you what you got to do right now. I mean, I've been into all the Google stuff for years. I'm a Google certified trainer. I've been a Google certified trainer since 2011. And so I've always advocated for using all these G Suite tools, but being forced that's the only way you can interact with kids. I don't envy that. It's a great additional resource, and I'm sure you're all doing the best you can. So what I have, and somebody, Jody Harnden, said, yeah, Peers. So somebody must have participated back in the day. So there's a link, I think. Did you post that link,
Just
Leah?
did. Everybody should see it now in the chat. Okay.
So what I'd really like you to do is, and I need to share my screen. So I want to, and I'm much more, bear with me just a little bit because I use Google Meet a lot more than I use Zoom. And so I am going to see what happens when I share my screen. It's going to ask me what screen. Of course, I have giant screens, so I am going to share desktop. Ooh, I'm going to share just this. What I've never quite understood, Leah, is where do I see what I'm sharing? Just the green box that's around it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I think you guys can all see a screen right now. It's a Google Chrome window with a lot of tabs open, and it's on the, it's actually on my slide deck. So, okay. Leah, I'm going to look for you for the head nods. So yeah, just the introduction. I'm all this stuff, this is the kind of stuff you get if you're a Google certified trainer. I got these templates. Today's topic is, integrating G Suite using sites, slides, forms, sheets, docs, and some add-ons to help you develop science lessons that can be interactive with kids over a distance situation where kids are participating and you're not all in the room together. So again, introductions, that's me, been doing this Google stuff for a really long time. I actually, in my consulting right now, work for, have consulting contracts around Oregon with some projects I've developed down in California. Again, I'm retired, so I don't want to work all that much, but I like keeping my brain active. And so one of the main things I focus on is spreadsheets. I think spreadsheets are super cool and super important for especially science teachers to understand how to use. And we'll be learning some things about spreadsheets today. We're going to start off with a demonstration with this dice probability activity. And this is an activity that I actually used to do with my third graders when I taught with real dice and graph paper. And you know, we would brainstorm what can happen when you roll 2 dice, and then we would roll 2 dice in groups, and we would make graphs of what happens, roll the dice 50 times, and you know, classroom of 30, that means I would end up with 15 groups that would be all different, that all have their own chart. I used to have to manually then aggregate that data into a single chart, and lo and behold, almost inevitably, almost perfectly, if you get up around 500 or 600 rolls, chance tells us what the graph will look like, and lo and behold, it almost always does. So it's super cool. After we actually participate in the dice probability activity, I'm going to demonstrate how you could make copies of this activity. And we will work through this. This is a little complex. So if you're, there's a lot of little tips and tricks that are happening to make this kind of thing happen. Please stop me somehow. I don't know if I can see a hand raise or something if I go too fast. And I don't know with how many people are on here today, 50 or something. It's always really hard to, you know, figure out if I'm leaving someone behind. And so I apologize for that. I often make the assumption that everybody knows as much as I do. It's a terrible assumption. But I'll do the best with that. And then I want to demonstrate some other similar science lessons that are actually on this website under my projects list. You can see I've developed a lot of different projects over the years. If I work with a teacher and they give me a problem, I have the time to solve that problem. You generally don't. So, and these are very interesting to me. So if I am given a project by somebody, I will build it out. I'll make a generic copy of it, and I'll post it to my website free for other people to make copies of and do all that kind of stuff on it. And then as we finish up, I want to brainstorm some other science lessons that can use these methods and we're going to do that on a shared slide deck where you all can have your own slide, you can type stuff in. But also, if you start having questions, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Jamboard. Jamboard is a free whiteboard from Google. And so I have a Jamboard set up, and you can open it from this web page. You can open the brainstorming slides. We'll do that later, but you can open the Jamboard now. I'll show you what the Jamboard looks like right now. I can see that no one else has joined up. Somebody joined, the anonymous Jackalope's joined, a couple of people are joining. And if you're familiar with Jamboard, I thought maybe either questions could be posed here, maybe some of our brainstorming could all be posed on the Jamboard as we progress. So it's nice to see a few people. We got 9 people already joined in there. Any questions from anybody so far that before we move on to the activity?
I will try to monitor the chat for you too. If there's questions that pop up in the chat, I'll let you know.
Alrighty. So, so by the way, the website that I use is a Google site. It's it actually has a lot of. I mean, I'm a big advocate of Google Sites. I've been using it for a really long time. Google keeps making it better. If I was a classroom teacher, in addition, if I'm using Classroom or Canvas or whatever I'm using, I would definitely have a Classroom Google site. And just to demonstrate some of the things that we're doing today. So moving forward, if you all have my site open on today's workshop, if you click the dice roll project, it will open up the dice roll project that we are going to work with. So what you will see on here is a copy of this I've had out there for a little while. So some of the dice rolls, we're not starting from scratch today. You can see we have a certain amount of rolls in here right now. We have some groups in here. In order to join and start to submit, because that's what we're going to do, we are going to open up random.org. I don't have that open yet, so I'm going to open up random.org. And random.org is a website that lets you roll 2 dice. So we are rolling virtual dice. Those of you that are real science heads and want to know about true randomness, this is a cool site because it tells you a lot about how they're making this actually truly random. And I forget what they said about this, but it's random number generators and things like this are not always completely random, depends on the algorithm. So this one they say is based on, I don't know, it's like the angle of the moon from, I don't know, there was something weird. But anyway, they have a lot of detail in here, but we're just going to use the dice roll. Okay. I've already got my first dice and it is, I got an 8. So I would come back to the website and my last name is Welch. So I would be in the red group. So I wanted to figure out a way to get you to join a group. So you can all, there's a couple things you could do. If you notice when you're on a Google site and you're on something like a chart or a form, you could pop that form open. And now I'm just looking at the form, okay? I will roll my first dice. I'm Tim. I'm actually, what did I do? I got to go back there. I'm Tim and I am in the red group. Okay, so I'm in the red group and I just rolled a 8. So Tim, red, 8, and I'm going to submit. And it says, hey, roll again, partner. So, okay, come back here. Again, I'm going to roll the dice again. I got a 7. So I'm Tim, I am red, and I just got a 7. So again, one of the things that we're going to take a look at, if I come back here, notice Tim red 7, I just got a 7. There's 2 of them. If I refresh my web page, you'll see that there's now 3 7s. So the web page is live updating this data as we collect it. So I'm going to stop talking, and I would like all of you to roll the dice. There's a lot of people, so we'll just roll the dice 20 times. And again, I don't know how comfortable you are opening up multiple tabs, but I got my dice roll tab here. I got my random generator here, and I'm kind of going back and forth. And go ahead and roll your dice for a bit. I'm going to track how it's going. That's not the right one. I'm going to track how that's going on a different spreadsheet while you guys roll the dice. And then come back in about 5 minutes, and we're going to see what happened to our data. You may have noticed as you're joining, that once you add your name the first time, your name is now in the form list automatically. I'm not doing anything to make that, well, I did something to make that happen, but that's happening automatically. You can see it growing on the sheet I'm sharing with you. Your names are alphabetically listing as they get added on the dice roll sheet. If I'm getting enough people submitting, if you I know you're all working, so you're not seeing my screen probably because you're on your own screens, but I am watching the total count of submissions go up as we go here. And I'd like to get us up to somewhere around 300 or 400 dice rolls, then we can kind of talk about the data.
I see someone's asking, are we close? Are we close to
Yeah,
300 rolls?
yeah. We can stop. We can see the point. So what I want to demonstrate now is, look at. I'm back on the web page. We've a couple of things that have happened here. Notice the form has added all these people automatically. We can talk about how you can make something like that happen. So you don't have to type in a list of kids' names. You can set up a form to automatically add kids as they add their name one time. That's a kind of handy feature. If I refresh this web page, we're at 11 on the total roles. On the sevens right now, since I haven't refreshed the web page. If I refresh that, we're going from 11 to 57. So again, if you take a look at the red group, and this is what was always so interesting to me about probability. When I take a look at the red group, it's kind of a little bit all over the place. Same with the green group, and same with the blue group. Although we probably had enough people coming in. There's a lot more in the blue group. Anyway, what we see then in probability is this is the data that we just collected in real time. I did have to refresh the web page, but all of this data got updated. It's all on this. It's all on this sheet right here. This is the simple form response sheet. Okay, and one of the kind of a cool feature that I've added here in order to get your names to automatically show up, I've added this column C. I'll talk about what that formula is, ask you if any of you can figure out what that formula is doing. I added that to my data sheet. Again, these are the metrics. I'm showing how many of each dice roll by group. And again, there's special formulas in there. They're count if formulas. They're actually count ifs formulas. So I'm actually counting based on multiple criteria. This is actually a pivot table that shows everybody's names and how many times you've rolled. And again, this is all embedded into what I call my metrics page. And then on this spreadsheet, if somebody's still rolling a 14 on the green just rolled, here's the blue, here's the red. These are charts that are built off the metrics page. And then here's the aggregate, which is all of the data, which kind of, as you can see, basically kind of makes the bell-shaped curve of which you would tell students. And then again, I have this individual. Now, this individual chart is only showing a few people because the data range changed significantly as we were working, but I'd have to massage this, and then I would have these different roles by different people. So that's the spreadsheet that we had. Go back to the website. As we can see, we also have a report. So one of the things that's really cool about G Suite, I don't know how many of you know this, but if you collect data and create charts and graphs in a Google spreadsheet, that information can be live embedded, not only on a Google site, but it can be live embedded in a Google document and a Google sheet and a Google slide. Well, it's coming from the sheet. So this report, I'm going to actually pop this report open. This is from the website. And what you'll see here is on these charts, when I click on this chart, it has an update button. So I click that update button, and there's the real information that's actually from. I'm going to update all the charts. So if you were to build a template for your students, they already would have a science report. And again, we're going to, at a certain point, make a copy of this. This is something you can push out to your students. I didn't flesh this out all that much, but a lesson on probability. Here's the data on what can happen when you roll dice. So you could develop with students. In this case, there's only one way to get a 2, and there's 2 ways to get a 3, so forth and so on. And then there's 36 things that can happen, and then you come up with your, the total number of, the reason 7 comes up the highest is there's 6 ways of getting a 7. So anyway, we're using the Google form. There's a link to the random.org, the Google form, the Google form response sheet. And then you would have your students write their hypothesis. Here's another, not only can you embed charts like I did here, you can also embed tables. So if a student is in the red group, I just click the update, and now that's showing me the table of data. So that's live linked to the spreadsheet. And then we've already updated the charts. And then I've got some references here to, teach about dice probability. So again, I guess going back to the website, we've run through this activity. Let me go back to my introduction. We go through, well, I guess I have this. So let me back up here to, we're using this activity. We used forms to collect data, sheets to disaggregate and view the data, docs to do a live data report, slides where we can also do a live data report. If you look down here, I'm going to have the same thing on my slide deck that I'm sharing with you. I can update the data, again, update the data, and again, update the data, and again, update the data. So that automatically pops up because the underlying data has changed. So the point being that you can live update data on docs, slides, and sheets. So any questions on that? Is this a new idea for many of you? Is this something that you've all known? No, I see one head nod. Okay. I find it really powerful, especially for science teaching. Like, and this is where I want to do some brainstorming. We are at 4:30. We have a half an hour left. I think I'd rather have us move on to like a brainstorming session. This webpage is here. You could follow the directions to make copies of this activity. And if we have time, I can walk you through that. There's a couple of things that you'd have to do. But why don't we, back at the website, I had a link to a well, let's take a look. We got people. Well, let's use the slide deck. I'd rather use a slide deck. So let's take a look at this. Open up your slide, the brainstorming slide deck, and put your name on your slide. I've already put about 50 slides in here. So choose a slide, put your name on it, up in the name box, and then maybe start to brainstorm some ideas. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to think about brainstorming what you might find ways to do this. As a science teacher, I imagine we're all different levels here from, maybe we're from, elementary through grade 12. So lots of different kinds of things. Leah, give me a thumbs up if you think we are, time-wise where we might want to be.
Oh, I see a question. Someone's joining us from an iPad, but they're having a hard time writing on the slides.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Um, I don't have my iPad in the room with me, so um,
I wonder, maybe I'll add the Jamboard link. And is it Leisha? Did I say your name correctly? Sorry if I didn't. Maybe you can try the Jamboard and let us know how that works. I think it is great to test things out on different devices, knowing that students might also be using different
yeah.
devices.
In the IT world, it's kind of why when Chromebooks came out, I became a much bigger advocate for Chromebooks than iPads. iPads are great for certain things, but they still haven't really caught up to work in the Google Suite the same. Although, I don't know, I think you can make it work. I guess I haven't tried to type on a slide with an iPad. I'm a little bit surprised that you can't make it.
Sorry, it's Lisa. I think she's saying, I think you have to download the app first, maybe either with slides or with Jamboard. So that might be why.
Oh, yeah. That would be much better than trying to do it within the browser. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's true with iPads. You definitely want all the apps for all of those things.
I see a question. Can you use this template and change the questions? I think what they're asking is, could they copy your dice roll activity, but just make changes to the questions on the form? Is that right, Katie?
Yes, you could do something like that and just, collect the data differently. It may entail readjusting the metrics page, like what exactly is the data the same, and how would you end up charting it out. Part of the difficulty is, and part of the magic is figuring out how to use Google's fancy formulas to disaggregate the data that you collect. And that's the part that's really powerful. And I do at one point want to go over a couple of things that are on my slide deck of some tricks that are handy, and maybe take a look. If you do make a copy of the spreadsheet, this is where I ran into a problem. I was telling Leah before everyone joined in. Everything that I developed here worked fine for me in my own Google account. And so I was all ready to go. And then this morning, got on a different Google account and downloaded everything. And lo and behold, it doesn't work the same because the rights aren't the same. And so I had to kind of, at the last minute go, oh, this is not what you guys are going to see. So, you always have to find time if you can figure things out. I see a question. You know what? I know I'm going to let some of you go, but I kind of want to address. I want to take some time right now with this brainstorming session to look at some things. I'm on the second slide, and I'm not sure who this is. I don't have a name up here, but maybe several people were sharing this one. So someone's asking about advanced data getting plotted on a Google map. Absolutely, it's very cool. It's very cool to do that. And again, brainstorm. What I would recommend is that you have to think about what output are you looking for. I run into this all the time when I work with teachers. They come up with an idea for a form, but they're not thinking what they want to get out of it necessarily. And so it's very important to have that in mind. Sometimes formulas can solve problems for you, but designing your forms is really important. Just a real quick aside. So on my website, I've been tracking this COVID stuff a lot. And these, by the way, are live embedded charts that are live and in real time, pulling the data directly from Wikipedia. But you're asking, can you take data that you collect and embed it on a GeoChart? Absolutely. Although this is a Data Studio project, that's another kind of a higher level kind of thing. But I can track and do something like that. You can do the same thing on geodata with student responses that you're getting and where are they coming from, and then look at those responses on these kinds of maps that we're seeing right here. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. Another question. Yeah, lots of ideas here. And again, you guys have access to this. Collecting data from students in any number of ways. And then, kind of the key is that you collect the data like I did here. Everything is coming into here. By the way, real important for me, and I highly encourage you to do this. When you create a Google form, those of you who have done that a lot know that the data is collected on a tab called Form Responses 1, okay? Notice that I renamed that tab Data. And I do that specifically because all my formulas that I use for disaggregation are referencing the tab of the form responses. And if that tab has a name with spaces and uppercase letters, well, uppercase isn't so much the problem. If it has spaces or hyphens or anything like that in the name of the tab, you have to use a single quote around the tab reference. And being a guy that doesn't want to type so much, I always rename my reference tabs. I always rename them to something very simple, one word, all lowercase. In fact, you'll notice all of my tabs, one word, all lowercase. And I do that on any sheet I create, because if you don't, your life becomes a little more complicated. So that's a kind of an important thing. You have your tabs. Let's go back and look at another question here. Yes, we could look at something like that. I put weekly quizzes. Yes, he said, then do a Google Doc to monitor each student. So somebody here, Connie Robbins, already doing this, sounds like, already sending out a data sheet. So my question for Connie on that is, okay, so each student has a chart, and then the Google Doc is only for that student's information. There is a way, when you collect data that's confidential and all the kids should not see everyone else's data, to use a function of Google Sheets called import range, where you create a new sheet for a kid and only look at their data. But it sounds like Connie has a way to do her Google spreadsheet data and make sure that kids are only seeing their own. Surveys. There's an app that Google put out there. I think it's called Science Lab, that lets you use your phone and iPads to collect a lot of different kinds of data that are, it's a very cool app. Again, if you do that, collect the data. And that's for things like sound, the decibel level, and a few things that your iPhone, or in my case, an iPhone can do for you, probably Android as well. Motion, lots of ideas here, live polls. Sorry. Rocket launch data. Again, you could go out, capture the data, use an iPad to capture the data if you're out within Wi-Fi range, and then build, as we did here, we built somewhere I got my dice roll report. Oops, no, somewhere I had my dice roll report. You can sort of like pre-configure a report to help the students be able to do some of those things, and build their reports with a little bit of help. I'll take some time to read through this. Does anybody, there's a lot of slides here, and I don't think we have time to kind of go through all of them. Anybody want to jump in and share something that they thought was really cool, their idea, and just tell us all? Any hands up, Leah?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share something. I was thinking, I know Berkeley's on our call and she doesn't, every year she leads a really awesome webinar for us about claim evidence reasoning. And I was just thinking about some cool possibilities of claim evidence reasoning where students can include their data right there as part of their writing their evidence. It's like, here's my evidence. And then they can really focus on connecting that to their claim and why it shows their claim is accurate.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, to me, there's so many interesting ways that part of the problem is going to be for teachers to find the time to figure out how all these, how to write all these formulas. If you're not real savvy with spreadsheets, this stuff gets complicated. And there's some great resources. I've included some resources on my slide deck of people that can give you some fabulous ideas on using some of these. And also, just FYI, at my own website, I do have quite a number of projects here. I want to go to one of them. So there's a science experiment I did a couple of years ago down in the Bern School District, where a teacher, a science teacher, had this allele gene frequency project that she always did with students. Just an FYI, if I'm not going to listen to this movie because it's like, you know, I made a movie of this whole thing, but it's of interest to me was that she gave me a piece of paper, a PDF printout of this activity. I used my phone, an app called Scannable. I scanned the paper document, which automatically put it in my Google Drive. When it was in my Google Drive, I right-clicked on it and opened it with Google Docs, which means it did optical character recognition and converted a PDF to a Google Doc. I had to edit it a little bit, but not much because it was a nice clean document. And then I, formatted a little bit more. And now I had a Google document that I could push out through Google Classroom that the students could actually work on. And again, in this case, it's, and the video goes through all this, it's the same thing you're seeing today. This is this alleles project where kids are collecting this data. They're pulling M&Ms out of a bag. You could probably find a way to do that digitally or if kids are working at home. Again, and this was a high school level genetics class. So just another idea. It's on my website. I've tried to flesh it out fairly well. The video goes into details about it. So again, a lot of the other things I have in here, if you ever have a chance, take a look. There's some kind of interesting things. Some of this stuff is more about administrators doing, walkthrough observations. I built one this summer called Running Record, where you can keep track of a running record for elementary kids on how you could take running records of digitally with kids and build these charts. Again, don't have time to go through all this. It's a little bit complex, but at the end of the day, when you open up this, this is a kind of a fancy page. The kids have to read anyway, blah, blah, blah. I try to, when I build this stuff, I try to build it all out for you so that you could go to this web page, understand how this all works. This is the output, by the way, a printed report for a student who's taken 10 tests. This is what my spreadsheet creates as a kid takes a reading test. So lots of different projects there. See, we're at 4:48. I'm watching the time. Come back to here. So any questions? I mean, we have 10 minutes left. I don't know if, I want to show one thing back over here on this spreadsheet. Notice this tab here. Notice that all your student names got automatically added over here. And that is actually a formula. I believe it's on this, my slide deck. It's an interesting way to write a formula that is pulling the data from, well, actually, I think I had it on my slide deck. Let me go back over here because I think as I moved through this, how does this work? Make your reports, blah, blah, blah. Next steps. Okay. So if we were to have the time to go through and make duplicates of this whole system, one of the things I was going to ask you to do is to add this formula to cell E1 in your data sheet. And the formula is this. I'm going to ask the question, can anyone tell me what this formula does? I'll make it bigger. I don't see a lot of hands up.
See some shrugs. Not sure.
So this is a super powerful, there's a couple of things here that are kind of advanced. I have an equal sign and I have an open end bracket. That's not usually what you see in a Google formula. But what it does is it let me, in this case, it puts the name students at the top of the cell, okay? And then, wrong tab. It puts the name students at the top of that cell, and then it says sort unique column B. In other words, look in column B. Column B is the names. So as you look at the data tab, you see column B has all these names, right? And then they keep repeating themselves. This formula says, show me and sort them alphabetically, sort the unique names that are in column B. Super handy. I use that all the time for all kinds of different things to find out what data is in a column, especially if it's repeated data like Tim. I just want to list the names. And then as I move over here, the reason I use that, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. I use an add-on down here. I use an add-on called Form Ranger on the spreadsheet. Some of you may not use add-ons. Super handy. If you look at my sheets here, I got a lot of add-ons. They do all kinds of fabulous things. This one lets you automatically update a form element on a form based on a list that's on your spreadsheet. And my sort unique automatically builds that list as you add a new name, and then it automatically writes it back to the form. So if you didn't have that, you as a teacher, if you got a new student in your class, would have to manually go in and edit your form to add student names. So this is a real handy little, feature. So, we've got about 8 minutes left. I am happy to, and then I'll jump down to my resources page. So Ben Collins, I know a lot of what I know about spreadsheets because I've enrolled in Ben Collins's class. This guy, if you want to learn spreadsheets, you want to know about Ben Collins. It's all kinds of stuff. Some of his classes are free. So, and the guy's a really good, his Google Sheets tutorials are really good. They're very well organized. And I have done all his free classes, and then because, it's kind of my interest, I pay for some of his classes he charges. Eric Kurtz, Control-Alt-Delete, you got to know about this guy. You will find so many fabulous ideas about, transforming education with technology. Eric's been doing this forever. He's one of the best people out there. And I think his website is really well organized. I think if you look at his resources page and you want to know something about Google Documents, all of these that he's got using Google Docs, Sheet Slides, all kinds of fabulous stuff. I highly encourage you to follow Eric's stuff. And then thirdly, you have Alice Keeler. She does an amazing job of doing stuff. Unfortunately, she's highly monetized her system, but there's a bunch of free stuff, I think, in here in her blog. But she's amazing. she creates stuff and gives you fabulous ideas on using the G Suite and other technology tools to save you a ton of time. Um, I have always found her to be amazing. So I don't know what her most recent stuff is, but again, I'll let you take a look at some of this stuff. She's actually an app script writer, so app script is like in a way to really extend the functionality of G Suite, and this gal writes app scripts that make all kinds of fantastic, fabulous things happen. So again, those are 3 resources I have on the slide deck, which you're welcome to always come back to, and I had some empty slides there. I think that's it. That's what I wanted to cover. And we have 5 minutes, 6 minutes if there's people that wanted to actually ask me questions. I will say one more thing, that if you contact me, and I don't know, I think my contact information is on my website. So I am retired. I do some consulting. I charge money for some of my consulting, but I also am a teacher at heart, and I like to share. And if someone gives me a project, I am happy to work on it. That won't cost you money if it's something I can fit into my schedule, and you take a look at what we did today and you come up with an idea and you're just stumped. Just give me a check. I can do a Google Meet with somebody remotely, and I'm always interested in new ideas for projects, and then if we would just add them to the website, other people could use them and stuff like that. But back to you, Leah.
All right, well, I have a link for everyone for our exit survey. So if you need a PDU certificate for attending, you'll want to fill this survey out for us so that I can send that to you. So I will share that in just a second. And I just want to let folks know. So Tim, is it okay if I stop your screen share just to show this slide for a
Yes,
minute?
actually, I'll stop it. I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right. So on the link here is a bit.ly, sorry, on the left is a bit.ly link for our form, and I'll add that to the chat in just a second as well. But I just want to let folks know we have our first ever virtual fall conference coming up, since we obviously can't gather in person. But it's one of those silver lining situations where OSTA is partnering with Washington Science Teachers Association to do a 2-day conference for $35 if you're not a member, and I think it's $10 if you are a member. And if you're not a member, your attendance at the conference will get you a year membership too. So you can attend all the webcasts for free. You can view all the webcasts on our website for free if you have your membership. So it's a pretty cool deal. We have Philip Bell from University of Washington, Oki Lee from New York University. We have Brian Brown from Stanford, who does amazing research in technology, race, and science. We have all of our incredible local educators who are going to be contributing sessions, and it's all going to be on Zoom. And so I just want to make sure everybody knows that's coming up. I know for our in-service day on the 9th, some of us may have more directed time than in the past, and you may not be able to get away to attend the conference, but we will be recording not all of the sessions because we're going to have a ton of sessions, but we will try to pick ones that we think are pretty high interest and record those and make them available on the website. So it still might be worth your while to register for the conference to be able to view those after the fact. So let me know if there's any questions about the conference, and I will go ahead and pull that link for you for the chat so that we can so you can go straight to that form and fill that out for your PDU. And thanks everyone for attending. I know there's so much going on right now, and it's overwhelming to be teaching right now. Whether it's in person or virtual, it's a lot. So you're all awesome. Thank you. There's a link to our conference site for checking out the conference information. Sorry, it's not hyperlinked. I think I needed to add the HTTP to the beginning for that to be a hyperlink, but you can copy and paste it.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Tim. Bye.
Yeah, and our our next webcast will have Andy Byerly from the Oregon Department of Education. He's a math assessment specialist, formerly was also involved with OSTA. And he's going to be talking to us about data science. So similar, actually, because today we're kind of talking about representing data and analyzing data, and we're going to have a little more of that kind of mathematics science discussion next month. Oh, I see. Let me grab that whole address for you. I will add that to the chat for the form. Sorry that the bit.ly did not. I heard that from someone last time that some of our district accounts don't allow bit.lys sometimes. So I will grab that for you, the actual link.
I'm just reading through the chats. There's some nice, good questions and things in the chat. I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to read through that.
There we go. Sorry, that took me a second. Here is the link to the form.